Welcome to your daily dose of ancient wisdom. We continue our reading of Book 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapurana with Discourse 2 of Glory of Lord's Narrative and of Devotion to Him. Vyasa says, Ugrasrava, the son of Romaharsha, was transported with joy to hear the question of holy Brahmanas. He welcomed their words and commenced his discourse. Sutta said, When the sage Dvaipayana Vedavyasa lit, one who was born in an island, saw his son Sukadeva going away all alone with an intention of leading the life of a recluse, even though he has not yet been invested with the sacred thread and had therefore had no occasion to perform any secular or religious duties, he was agitated at the thought of separation from him and called out, Hello, my son. At that time, it was the trees on the roadside that responded on his behalf, filled as they were with his presence. I bow to that sage Sukadeva, who being one with the universal spirit has access to the hearts of all. Srimad Bhagavata is a mysterious Purana. It possesses a glory of its own and constitutes the very essence of all Vedas. It is a unique light illuminating in the spiritual realities for these worldly men who seek to go beyond the darkness of ignorance. It was out of compassion for such men that this teacher of sages, Sukadeva, uttered this Purana. I take refuge to that son of Vyasa after bowing to the divine sages Narayana and Nara, the Supreme Person Sri Krishna, Goddess Saraswati, the goddess of speech, and the sage Vyasa. One should then recite Srimad Bhagavata, which enables one to conquer the cycle of birth and death as well as the aberrations of the mind. Sages, you have done well in asking me a question which is conducive to the welfare of the world. For your inquiry relates to Sri Krishna, a topic which completely purifies the heart. That alone is the highest duty of the men, from which follows devotion to Sri Krishna, a devotion which is absolutely motiveless and knows no obstruction, and as a result of which the soul realizes the all blissful God and thus attains its object. Contact established with Bhagavan Vasudeva Sri Krishna through devotion speedily awakens dissipation and immediate knowledge. A duty well performed is but labor lost if it fails to generate love for the stories of Bhagavan Viswakesha, Vikshvaksena, Sri Krishna. Riches cannot be the end of dharma, virtue, which culminates in absolution of final beatitude. Even so, wealth is a means of earning religious merit. Sensuous enjoyment has not been recognized as its culmination. Again, gratification of the senses is not the end of sensuous enjoyment. Keeping the body and soul together is the only use of sensuous enjoyment. An inquiry into the truth is the object of keeping the body and soul together and not the attainment of heaven, etc., through the performances of pious acts. The knower of the truth declares knowledge alone as the reality, that knowledge which does not admit to duality, the distinction of subject and the object, in other words, which is indivisible and one without a second, and which is called by different names such as Brahma, the Absolute, Paramatma, the Supreme Spirit or Oversoul, and Bhagavan, the Deity. Sages who are full of faith perceive that truth as their own self in their own heart through devotion coupled with knowledge and dissipation of their own and acquired through hearing of Srimad Bhagavata. Therefore, O noblest of Brahmanas, the consummation of duties efficiently performed by men according to their respective varna or the grade in society and ashrama's stage in life lies in securing the pleasures of Srihari. Hence, with undivided mind, one should ever hear and sing the praises of, meditate upon, and worship the Lord, who is the protector of his devotees. The learned, who are armed with the sword of constant meditation of him, cut asunder the hard knot of karma therewith. Who then would not take delight in his stories? By resorting to holy places of pilgrimage, O Brahmanas, one obtains the privilege of waiting on exalted souls and thereby successively develops a desire for hearing the stories of Bhagavan, Vasudeva, or Sri Krishna. Faith in and a relish of such stories occurs. Sri Krishna is a disinterested friend of the virtuous, and his praises sanctify those who listen to or sing them. He abides in the hearts of those who hear his stories and uproots the evil propensities of their mind. When the evil propensities are well nigh eradicated through the constant service of his devotees or the day-to-day study of Srimad Bhagavata, there wells up abiding devotion to the Lord of excellent fame. The mind is then freed from passions such as lust and greed, which have their root in rajas and tamas, and established in this sattva attains purity. In this way, when one is rid of all worldly attachments through loving devotion to the Lord, and the mind is filled with delight, one realizes the truth relating to God as a matter of course. The moment a man sees God as this very self, the knot of ignorance in his heart is broken, asunder all his doubts are dispersed, and the entire stock of his karma gets liquidated. That is why, with utmost delight, the wise constantly practice devotion of Lord Vasudeva, which purifies the soul. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are three attributes or modes of Prakriti, the predominant matter. Assuming these for perseveration, creation, and destruction of this universe, the one Supreme Person severally bears the names of Hari, Vishnu, Virinchi, Brahma, and Hara, Siva. Yet the Supreme God of men flows from Sri Hari alone, whose body consists of pure sattva. Just as smoke is higher, more active than wood, which is earthly substance and hence inert and dull, and higher than smoke is fire, which is associated with many sacrificial acts recommended in the three Vedas. Even so, Rajas, the principles of motion or activity, is superior to Tamas, the darkness or inertia, and even higher than Rajas is Sattva, the principle of light or knowledge, with the help of which one is able to realize God. Of your sages worshipped for their salvation, Bhagavan Vishnu alone, who is pure Sattva personified. Even now, those who follow in their footsteps likewise get qualified for blessedness. Those seeking liberation worship Bhagavan Narayan and his part manifestations, all of whom are so gentle in aspects, leaving alone the lords of evil spirits, Bhairava and others, who possess a terrible form, though not revealing them. Those, however, who possess a Rajasika or Tamasika disposition and are seekers of wealth, power, and progeny worship similar to theirs. The Vedas ultimately treat of Bhagavan Vasudeva. The sacrifices themselves aim at the attainment of Vasudeva. The various yogas eventually lead to Vasudeva, and all sorts of rituals to have their end in Vasudeva. All wisdom has its culmination in Vasudeva. All austere penance has Vasudeva for its goal. All virtue aims at the realization of Vasudeva, and all desires culminate in Vasudeva. Although the Lord is himself beyond Prakriti, the predominant matter, and its three modes of sattva, etc., yet it was he who evolved this universe at the beginning of creation through his own Maya or Prakriti, which consists of the aforesaid three gunas and is both real in its phenomenal aspect and unreal or ontologically speaking. Having entered into these three gunas that have been evolved by the aforesaid Maya, he appears as possessed of three gunas, though essentially he is the consciousness personified. Just as fire, though really one, appears as many when abiding in different logs of wood that manifest it, so does God, the soul of the universe, though eternally one, appears as many when manifested in different beings. Entering as a soul the various material bodies created by himself out of the various evolutes of the three gunas, such as the subtle elements, the senses, and the mind, the Lord enjoys the sense objects appropriate to such bodies. It is he again who creates the different worlds, and descending by the way of sport in different species, such as the gods, the human beings, and the lower forms of life, protects all the beings through his sattva or goodness. Thus ends the second discourse, forming the part of the story relating to Naimisa forest in Book 1 of the great glorious Bhagavata Purana, otherwise known as Paramahamsa Samhita. Thank you.